this was another point I wanted to make on the whole situation with the golden sphere, basically. You guys have so many different things that you say that doesn't really actually address what you're trying to claim. So you say that you have to be 75% black or less to be mixed, right? But you didn't pay attention to what is determining whether you are under 75% black or not. You thought if you took one DNA test, it would show throughout all the DNA tests that you would be 75% black, right? That's not true. See, you could end up taking one DNA test that puts you at 78% black, another DNA test puts you at 70% black, or another DNA test puts you at 75% black. It depends on the reference panels. You have to understand what the DNA test is doing. It's comparing you to certain reference panels. Now, that has to do with who they research, basically. Do they research mostly DNA from Europe? If so, you might have more of a chance of getting more European results, honestly, and more percentage. I've seen this happen personally for myself. I'll do 23andMe, I get a lot more European. If I do my heritage, for example, I get much less European. If I do ancestry DNA, it's on the higher end. Now, you could say, oh, maybe it's negligible. It's not. For me, it's not at all. I can go from, I think it's a 13% span. Honestly, mine is always above 75%. Mine is like 80%, and then it can go all the way to like 92% or something like that. But I'm like, so if you mean to tell me someone who is like 73% in one DNA test, they'll take another DNA test and they might end up 86%. Which one is it? So are they mixed or are they not? Because according to the DNA test, it changes. That's what I'm trying to point out. And then add it to the whole thing that I pointed out last time about the grandparent. Inheriting ancestry from a grandparent can range from 32% to 18% to 32%. That means that you could be anywhere from 68 to 82% African ancestry, sub-Saharan African ancestry. So if that's the case, I mean, that basically would mean who wouldn't get? Well, I mean, there's probably some people who would still get higher than 80%, 82% African ancestry, I guess. But you see what I'm saying. It's just like, my point in explaining everything is that the DNA test changes over time. You know, it changes by different companies. It changes because of who you're comparing to. If someone doesn't have a strong reference panel to North Africa or Middle East or Asia, they'll get a smaller percentage of that. While if they have, a stronger component with Europe, they'll get a stronger component with Europe. So, what if you have more Middle Eastern or North African heritage than, say, European or Asian heritage? You won't really even see that that's a prominent part of your genome if that component isn't included with their reference panel. Say they don't really test North Africa that much. Say they don't test much of Southeast Asia much. Say they don't test Native Americans that much. If they don't test those places that much, then it's just like kind of like you're not going to get much of that result, obviously, because it's not really an option. So I'm just like pointing out that to me, I don't get why people try and act like it's 75% when a DNA test won't even prove that. Then on top of it, it's the whole chromosomal side of it. Okay, for Black Americans, we don't test just one DNA result. That's our estimate. Every monoracial person and every person who's first generation or second generation mixed, those people get chromosomes with the same percentage, right? But for the rest of us, we don't. So what happens with us is our chromosomes range. Even my mother's chromosomes range 70 to 100% black. Mine ranged from 44% black on to 96% black. That's why my median is somewhere. My median is actually a bit lower, actually, now that I think of it. But the point is, when you add it all up, it's about 80%. But my point is, why is it that you find that people will say it's 75%? If it's 75%, how is a person who is both 70% and 100% sub-Saharan African really mixed or not mixed? Because some of their chromosomes are below the 75% range. You could say the same for someone who is 44% in my case, I guess, with the 50%, but I don't know, it doesn't really count for anything because being mixed is not really any different than being black. But that's all I have to say in this video. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe.